Hi, welcome back to Film Story Recaps. Today I am going to explain the movie Gold. The film begins with grainy, dusty desert landscapes with barren trees, and a text on the screen refers to it as sometime, someplace, not far from now. An unnamed man, played by Zac Efron, and thus referred to by the actor's name as the characters in the film remain unnamed, is seen eating a piece of bread while traveling in a goods train compartment. A woman and her baby are at the other end of the compartment, both staring hungrily at the food. This appears to warm Efron's heart, and he offers her the rest of the bread before descending to his station. The location is a rundown outpost that appears to serve as a connection point to the compound, where Efron's character intends to go. He looks around for a man who is supposed to drive him there, but the attendant at the outpost is as desolate as the surrounding desert. The second man, played by Anthony Hayes, arrives as he relieves himself in a filthy makeshift washroom. The two quickly set out on their journey to the compound, and Hayes' character appears to be opportunistic from the start, charging the other man extra money for petrol and water. Hayes' car breaks down with a puncture after they enter the desert and drive through barren, inhabitable landscapes. As he repairs the puncture, Efron witnesses a facet of the harsh reality of the area when a wild dog attacks and tries to kill another for food. Hayes intervenes in such a cannibalistic act, possibly doing the humane thing by killing the injured dog, relieving it of its suffering. Soon after, the two are back on the road, and when they stop for the night, Efron explains why he is going to the compound. He shows his companion an advertisement pamphlet that promises a wonderful life to those who relocate to the compound. Hayes, who appears to be more familiar with the location than the other younger man, warns Efron about the most deceptive advertisements that big corporations nowadays use to attract cheap labor. The next day, they resume their journey, but trouble arises when the car overheats due to Efron turning up the air conditioning. As the two men try to solve their immediate problem, Efron notices a chunk of shiny rock protruding from the ground. He calls Hayes over to take a look as he moves away from the loose sand covering the rock, and their tests confirm that they have discovered a massive gold nugget stuck in the ground in the middle of the desert. They initially try to extract the rock with their hands and by tying it to their car, but they soon realize that the nugget is much larger than it appears. The two decide to split up because one must go to the nearest town to obtain an excavator, while the other must stay behind and protect the gold. Although Hayes initially offers to stay behind, Efron insists on staying to protect their newly discovered treasure. Hayes finally departs with his repaired car, and Efron prepares to spend the next 4 or 5 days alone in the harsh open nature. As Hayes drives away in his car, Efron settles in with his few belongings, which include a bottle, a jerry can full of water, some food, and a satellite phone that Hayes gave him so that the two could communicate. He marks the exact location of the gold nugget with dust and then constructs a lopsided hut for himself by tying a piece of tent cloth to a tree on one side and placing rocks on the other. Nature's dangers soon appear when a scorpion crawls up near Efron's camp, but the man does not kill it and instead attempts to drive it away. He then goes to gather firewood, knowing full well that he will need a fire to protect himself from wild dogs after dark. During his meager evening meal of canned and dried food, the man hears howling dogs in the distance, waiting for an opportunity to attack him. As the days pass, he must ration his supplies even more strictly, and he must choose between using water for hygiene and saving it for consumption. Efron is forced to travel further into the wilderness in search of firewood when he comes across some crashed airplane debris and decides to scavenge metals and other supplies from it. He rips apart metal doors and windows and drags them back to camp to construct a stronger, more solid hut. With supplies running low and having to spend hours by himself, Efron breaks a smaller gold chunk from the nugget, but he does not intend to keep it all for himself, as one might expect in such a situation. Instead, when Hayes calls to inform him of his position, Efron shares the news with him and suggests that they leave with whatever little they can take, but the second man dismisses such a thought. That night, he must walk through the pitch blackness with only a lit on fire stick to protect himself, and he is attacked by a pack of wild dogs. He is saved, however, just in time when a loud gunshot from somewhere nearby scatters the dogs. The following morning, Efron attempts to kill a snake for food but fails to match its slithery movements and continues on with a hungry body. In the afternoon, he returns to the plane crash site and notices a human figure approaching him. He tries unsuccessfully to hide in the plane and is eventually forced to come out to face the stranger. This individual, a woman dressed and armed for the desert, is a scavenger who goes around looting whatever and whoever she can and surviving with it. She harasses Efron for quite some time, trying to figure out who he is and what he is doing alone in the middle of nowhere. When the man fails to respond and simply tries to avoid the conversation, the woman follows him back to his camp and attempts to destroy his hut. When she is stopped, She attempts to portray Efron as an outsider who is unfairly attempting to take resources from locals like her, and then becomes aggressive. Efron, possibly in an attempt to protect himself, strikes the woman with a shovel and kills her, perhaps unwillingly. Taking whatever he can find on her, he digs a hole and buries her body in it, only to have hungry wild dogs dig it up and try to eat it. He quickly gathers more wood and burns the body, not wanting to offend her by feeding her remains to the dogs. The next day, he receives a satellite phone call from Hayes, who says he is now bringing the excavator back to the location and promises to arrive in 2 or 3 days. Efron notices a passing local vehicle and considers asking for help and fleeing his situation, but his greed, and possibly a sense that the situation is equally bad everywhere else, holds him back. Soon after, a massive sandstorm hits the area, and the man is severely injured when a flying tree branch impales his stomach. After the storm has completely changed the appearance of the sandy desert, Efron crawls around in excruciating pain and eventually finds the gold nugget after much effort. He also struggles to treat his wound before falling into a hallucinatory trance in which he believes the woman he killed is now alive again. However, it is soon revealed that there is a second woman who resembles the first, and she asks Efron if he has seen her sister, implying that they are twins. When the man denies seeing anyone, the woman offers to accompany him on a walk to the nearest water source and settlement, but Efron refuses to be left alone. As he appears to pass out and then wake up, he sees himself in a circle of small fires, clearly lit by the woman, as a pack of dogs moves towards him, sensing that the man is about to die. As the fires fade and the dogs' collective will and courage grow stronger, they begin to attack Efron one by one, tearing into his flesh before dragging him away and biting him to death. As Efron is pulled and eaten away by the vicious pack of feral dogs, Anthony Hayes' character is finally seen some distance away from Efron's camp. Hayes seems to have made a camp of his own, where he seems to have been staying at least for 2 or 3 days, with his car and an excavator readily waiting beside him. He looks through a pair of binoculars at the final fate of Efron as he is killed by the forces of nature, and it becomes clear as day that Hayes was actually waiting for his partner to die so that he could take and keep all the gold for himself. After Efron is finally dead, Hayes drives up to the place and steps out to check the area. He spots the gold nugget and returns to his car to get something. As he returns, an arrow pierces straight into his chest, and the man instantly falls dead on the ground. Gold cuts to black here, and the credits roll. It is again very obvious that it is the twin sister scavenger woman who has killed Hayes, for she was seen with a crossbow earlier. I hope you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button to help us out. Also leave a comment if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Thanks for watching.